Welcome back everyone to my Pro Cycling Manager custom team game. We're going to get into the first stages today. First stage will be an individual time trial and followed by the first group stage. So getting into things now and getting right down to business. With the first stage being an individual time trial, that means it's basically going to go in order of team since there's no standings to go in reverse order of. Here we go with our first cyclist hitting the street for their attempt. This is a relatively short stage, so it's over very, very quickly. And so there was a little bit of, waiting for me in between. So I basically shortened this one down so you guys are just watching my guys go. I may have kept, I think, the last couple of finishers that went after our last rider. But all in all, it was a strong start, to this tour for the team that I assembled. So we do have a lot of guys that are good with the time trial doing this, so we were able to put together a strong effort individually and as a team as well. And as we go through the team going through their attempts. I do know that Pro Cycling Manager 26 is coming out soon. At the very least, I will end up finishing this tour before I go ahead and start a new one on that one. I do also have a move coming up at this point a couple of months. So I might also just go ahead and wait until after we get settled in our new location before fully transitioning to the next Pro Cycling Manager game. Either way, I am, going to do my best to make sure that I get a lot of content kind of also created and scheduled, so that way, even if we are out of it for a while, we'll still be able to get videos out on a regular basis there. As you see, our second to last rider is on the way to finishing right now. And here's the last guy who's
there's a new reference time coming in.
A very nice effort for us here. Definitely we're going to get past some people if it was a longer stage.
Great stuff!
I believe right now we're watching the final rider of the first stage take their way to the finish. Strong start. Got our guy in the leader's jersey. I do think my team's keeping the team win. I think we got the lead after the first stage as well. So so used to so many of the time trials just being showing the leader of the team. Just about wrap up stage 1 for us. So here's a quick look at the results for that stage. Nice quick little stage to get our feet wet there. Have to say from what I've seen of the stills and everything for Pro Cycling Manager 26, it does look like this main screen is going to go over some changes. Here I am kind of checking out some of the prospects we have as far as sponsorship for the future, which, like I said, at this point may or may not matter for this series, depending on how long I decide to stick with it before going to 26. I do, though, intend, though, to get a fuller and deeper 26 series in, so this one may end up only being this one season, and then I'll try to get at least a couple seasons deep in the next one. And here we are getting ready for the first group stage of the event. I will be honest, like I do actually end up preferring it more when my free elements end up taking the lead in these stage races, just because the team kind of takes a better team approach, whereas if it's the main leader,
attack! It's now or never for those riders who want to avoid a battle over the last few kilometers.
Also try to dictate pace and everything, which does tend to lessen their chances of being able to grab and or hold on to the team lead, because they end up falling off at the
There's a rider trying to break away from the bunch.
Kind of a nice solid, strong start, and just kind of, as you see, doing what I normally do, which is just getting a better idea of where the main GC riders are, so that we can keep a better eye on them. All in all, this one ended up being a decent first group stage of the event. All in all, kind of let the other teams do their thing, which just kind of makes it easier for us. There was some hanging back on our part. As I don't really have anybody going for the sprinters jersey, so we kind of let the sprinters have their fun as we hit the first sprinting stage. And here you see most of our guys just kind of chilling in the back, kind of taking a couple looks at a couple of the different screens that are offered. I do think they changed it up. I think last year where they had that more, I'll say, where it kind of made it a 50-50 screen instead of just covering the part of the screen and not changing what your view is. And I actually do prefer being able to still see everything in one of those menus. I typically go in there, look at not just the altitude changes, but also just the course map, just to keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on where everyone is on the stage and kind of what's still to come. So at this point, it's pretty much just kind of easy cycling. Lots of guys running back for water at certain points, but they're just kind of letting the peloton do its thing and staying out of trouble. First race of the season. Last thing that you really want to have happen to any of your guys is injuries, real life or game. And as you can see here, my main strategy for also following the peloton and also where the camera goes is I typically try to keep it on the lead guy as far as the general classification goes. Also, not necessarily the guy who also we're technically supporting, but whoever is the one highest up in the standings is where I typically tend to watch and keep an eye on. And then I do try, when it's time to do the water, I try to pick the guys that are already the furthest back in the main group. That way, it's a little bit quicker than having one of the guys up front dropping down. This point is so we, I think, really start getting into the climbs and whatnot. But it doesn't really matter for the peloton. I think there's enough guys in the break that there's really no points left over to be had by the time the peloton gets to the summit.
trying to give his pals the slip. There's an attack in the group at the front. That looks like a really bad fall. It's a shame, but he's not going any further. Fall in the pack!
I think the break ends up staying, I think, right into the neighborhood of the final climb. I think the final climb was kind of more of
a rider drops out.
With points being kind of, I'll say, available for the entire peloton. So I'm pretty sure the break gets caught by that point. To the bottom, so it's time for another went up quickly to check on the brake. I'll do that on occasion, especially when they kind of get deeper into a tour, whether it be a week-long one or one of the grand tours, is basically to see where those guys are in the general classification, and all in all, just to see really if I have to work on trying to catch them or not, because it does happen, sometimes where the game is content with letting the brake do its thing, and you've got to get your guys to work on getting the brake captured. And then we head right into the finish after the next sprint. So one of the little fun parts of this game that I do kind of enjoy when, you know, you get the car that just stops and all the cyclists just clip right on through and keep going. Sometimes I do wish that that happened in real life. So this is pretty much where things, I'll say, start to get interesting as, you know, all the teams and everything are really starting to prepare for the finish right about now. You know, kind of get that water for the last time and just get ready for the run into the finish line. So the last climb is really kind of a bit of a free-for-all too. And this is really where for the setup. Also, I should say setup. This is pretty much what I'll say for the final setup and the final preparations to come on into the finish and, you know, kind of end the stage in the best place possible, kind of starting here. Here we go. A couple of teams with some decent lead-outs. I believe that's Flying, who's really able to stay with the groups, despite the rest of the squad being further back. At this point, the full sprint goes.
A really powerful sprint finish to claim a great victory.
All in all, I believe this group stays together enough that pretty much everybody has received passing lines and gets that same time like they always do. A couple of guys back get to watch the next group finish. That was everybody finishing. Exit station. Right there for the streamer guys. We do keep the groups busy. There's the Sprinters jersey. This should be the Sprinters jersey. This should be the Rangers jersey. As long as everything goes according to plan, the next one, which should be soon, should be hopefully out on Friday.